Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Islam. Arise, give all praise to Allah, and the highest of honors to His holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the more science of Islam. I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did a deed warn and stir up the nations. Islam. Give an honor, have a seat, Brother Akil. Give honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag, with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam. Give honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you, the Moors, with compound interest. Islam. Give honor to noble Sheik staff and noble vanguard staff for keeping the peace, and give honors to you, the ills and bays, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam. Praise Allah. Praise Allah for the demonstration that our brother Lieutenant Grand Governor just gave, because that's an aspect of being that's often missed in the Moorish Science Temple of America. If you're not a studious being, you know, these messages will slip past you. Islam. I want to just camelback on his measure before I get into mine. He was demonstrating on Angel Michael. And Angel Michael, the story, for those that's not, really adept with reading Bible, Revelations chapter 12 gets into Michael. I'm just going to, read through the whole chapter, just, to give a setup for, Michael's energy. Islam. Revelations 12 verse 1 says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head was a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads." The prophet tells you about Lucifer, Satan, devil, and dragon. So it gives you dragon, right? All right. Instruction 4, Revelations 12 verse 4. "And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which is ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born," also known as the devourer of nations. What is the lowest self? To go to and fro the earth, what? Seeking whom it may devour. Islam. Instruction 6, "And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 2,203 score days." A score is 20. So take 20 times 3, and that give you that 60 days, right? 2,260 days. Instruction 7, "And there was a war." Here we go, Michael, right? "And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." So then you have the great dragon, you got old serpent, you got devil, and you got Satan. Prophet gives you that as the sins of Adam and Eve. When these energies come into the manifest, they take on a carnal thought. Islam. Instruction 10, "And I heard with a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night." The prophet tells us the pure in heart don't accuse. Islam. All right, so it's telling you about the energy of this one that he's speaking on. Instruction 11, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by their word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death." Prophet Jesus 2,000 years ago said you have to be faithful unto death. Our Lieutenant Grand Governor is wearing a black fez tonight. A black fez is symbolic of being faithful unto death. Islam. Death is no enemy of man. Islam. Praise Allah. Instruction 12, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child." Islam. Now, if you go back to Genesis 3, it talks about the woman and the serpent, and the beef that took place between them two. This is camelback on that same energy. All right? Because again, most of the focus is on destroying our women. Because if they destroy her, they know we ain't far behind. Islam. That's why in Moorish custom, we dress our women in modesty. Turban on their head, everything. Just like it said, remind me from instruction 16, because I forget. Just like it says in instruction 1, it said, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. Islam was? The moon under her feet and the crown of stars on her head, the prophet of the crescent, depending right on the sister's forehead. Islam was? Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. For those that think the prophet wasn't a Bible master too, he was. Instruction 16, and the earth helped the woman. They say Mother Earth, right? The earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Islam was?
Islam.
And we know the Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to manifest the degrees of the true and divine prophets to us so they wouldn't be spooks to us. Islam. So when we hear the name Jesus without the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Jesus is a spook to us. Right? So, you know, the Asiatics are superstitious people. You know, they have a custom that they borrow from people of other lands. Right? Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And in fact, you know, you're thinking some folly now. Wait till this coming Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where they talking about a being named Ishtar that they call Esau.
Right.
Right? And they're going to go and, you know, all the clothing shops going to make billions. Because everybody going to be fly with Ishtar, right? Islam or?
Islam.
Customs that they borrow from the people of other lands. Islam? All right? And notice that Ishtar is also a female deity too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a lot that goes along with the woman, so on and so forth. Also, too, for those that think heaven is this place that Michelangelo painted, where it's just blissful, and, you know what I'm saying? Revelation 12:7 tells you there's wars that take place in heaven. Islam? You know, there's also mental wars that take place too because it's a war of ideas. You know what I'm saying? Shaitan has an idea, you know, and Allah has an idea. You know, in all the world, there's only two things. They're what? Truth and other is falsehood. Islam? You know, and as those things take on a course of God with flesh, now all of a sudden that becomes, you know what I'm saying, the wars that we know as crusades or Punic wars or, you know, the war where they put Negro, black, and colored on us. Islam wars? That's a war of ideas. Islam wars?
Islam.
All right?
Still fighting.
Islam, you know, and as long as one is manifest more, we hear, you know, to become the strength of Allah made manifest. You know what I'm saying? So there will, and then when you do that, there will be a reflex of that energy, right? So when you take that position, something automatic in this plane is going to prop itself up as the opposite opposing force to that. Pendulum swing. Islam? All right? So, you know, you have to be, you know, immutable in that which is right. Islam was immutable and unchangeable. You know, Brother Jesus said, my heart is fixed. You know what I mean? A lot of us, our heart changes, like, you know, gives us inconstancy. Our heart changes depending on the weather or how we feel at that moment. You know what I'm saying? But your heart has to be fixed on that which is right, which we know is justice, mercy, and right. Higher stuff. Islam wars? Right? Before I go on to my next measure of delving into the Quran and North Science of America, I'd like to share an experience I had on Monday. I received a phone call Sunday night. One of my customers, my barbershop customers, contacted me and let me know one of his relatives had passed on. Right? So he wanted to know if I could get over to the funeral home and cut his relative's head, you know, while he was, you know what I'm saying? So praise Allah, right? You know, because now I get a chance to put some of the Prophet's lessons, you know, make it practical. Instead of theorizing about it, I get a chance, you know, hands-on chance to see chapter 4. Let's go to chapter 4. Let me prefix that spirit, so I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna burn them words, just 4 instructions. Islam wars? Chapter 4, Death and Burial of Elizabeth, Mathino's Lessons. The Ministry of Death. When you look up Mathino, if you do a Google search of Mathino, the European calls them Manetho. So if you do a research on that, they spell it M-A-N-E-T-H-O. Prophet gave it to us as Mathino. Islam wars? Instruction 1 says, when John was 12 years old, his mother died, and neighbors laid her body in a tomb among her kindred in the Hebron burying ground and near to Zacharias' tomb. And John was deeply grieved. He wept. Mathino said, it is not well to weep because of death. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cords, parts of the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. Islam. No language can describe a mother's worth, and yours was tried and true. But she was not called hence until her tasks were done. Let's go one more instruction. The cause of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here, and one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems the best. Islam. All right, so I get down to the funeral home. It's like 8:30 in the morning. And they had to wait or whatever. They had to bring him out to the morgue section. It was by the cold. So they bring him out. They call me back. I go in the back room. They have a room prepared for this thing. So they had our brother on a stretcher type of situation. And true to form, like just to show that these practices of preparing the dead, quote unquote, are not new but are indeed ancient.
No.
If you look at ancient Egypt, there's a deity called Anpu, called Anubis, right? And he's the one that prepares the dead, right? And embalmer and all that type of stuff. If you look at his tool, one of the tools that Anubis has, it's a headrest, right? So it's the thing that props the head up. So I go in and you see the brother on the stretcher, and I look at his head, and his head's propped up. It's styrofoam, right? But it's in the same shape as the one in Egypt. Ancient. Okay. They have a brother had a blanket covering his body. His head was propped up, and it's after post autopsy. So they cut his head because when you do the autopsy, they weigh the brain and all your organs to see if they found plenty of poison or anything. So they cut his head from ear to ear, right? So when I'm looking at his head, it's like stitched back together like this. Okay. So they told me the only thing I had to cut was everything forward from the stitch, right? Because as he lays in the coffin, when the head falls back into the pillow, you won't be able to see the back of his head. Okay? And then, everything, beard, everything. So, and once they explained it, I'm like, all right, and just left. And left me, I was like, no further instructions. Like, nah, you're the barber, right? I said, okay, praise Allah. And, he walked out. So I'm sitting there, so, of course, I said a prayer. You know what I'm saying? I'm Muslim. We do have to, open up a prayer. And then I got my tools out. And then, combing the brother's hair or whatever. And then as I'm combing, my finger went across his forehead. No heat. Body ice cold.
Energy.
Gone. Right? This is just, the spirit, the part that is him is gone, has fled the body. This form is it's a husk of corn. The corn is the best part, right? How many people eat the husk? Right? You get that husk out of there, you throw it away, right? But what I'm looking at, respect to the brother's form, was a husk, right? A temple with no altar fire.
No altar fire.
Islam Morris, his skin was grayish. Right? It wasn't even that bright melanin that we have, right? It was grayish because there's no blood to give life to the melanin. Islam, so it's almost grayish. As I'm doing his shape up, when you're trimming up a living person, what makes that line up so sharp is the blood is keeping the skin vibrant.
Right.
And I'm doing it, I'm doing my best work, but it wasn't hitting like I'm used to it hitting. Right? And then as I'm processing the thought, I'm like, oh, the blood is not pumping. Right? So this is what the form looks like after. You understand what I'm saying? The brother easily looked, because I didn't have much background on the brother. The brother easily looked about 50, mid-50s. Right? Later when I talked to the relative, he was only 34. Because the spirit animates and gives life to the form. Islam Wars? It wasn't until later I saw a picture, a photograph of the brother, where he looked 34. His form didn't, after the spirit had fled. Islam Wars?
Islam.
So, after I leave, I contact the relative, let him know, mission accomplished, all was well, whatever. So the relative came to the barbershop just to thank me in person. And he gave me the backdrop of the story. And without getting into too much detail, it was a situation where, our brother had robbed someone some time ago. And, the situation had come back upon him. And he actually was, they caught him like 2 months ago and shot him up. He lived that, survived that. So he got hit 9 times and survived that. And went back to the very same place he was at where he got shot. And basically finished the job this time. You see what I'm saying? But, I'm here to say, while it didn't really bother me, it altered my thinking slightly. Because the things that we think that matter on this plane of manifest, we really got it twisted. Like, really. Because how many of the times did you define who you are by the things that are in the plane of the manifest? Islam? Okay, so I'm somebody because I have a good job.
Okay.
I'm making a certain amount. So I live in a decent home and have a nice vehicle.
Okay.
So I'm something because of that.
Something outside.
Right. Or I'm someone because I have these children. My children are doing so good in this and blah, blah, blah. So I'm, right? Or I'm a Sheik Heru Ranesi-El America. So or just whatever, whatever thing that you put on yourself, as a title or as an office or an authority that's based off the things that manifest. In the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it says all is vanity. It said, the preacher said all is vanity, all this stuff, right? And, right, the things that we fall out about. None of it exists. It's all falsehood. I got one for you.
Yeah, please.
Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Because I don't want you to think this is my general opinion. I don't have no opinions. Not on this. Moore's God newspaper says, prophet says, I'm going to read two things, two articles. Those are called tongues. So one of the most difficult things to get in control of is the human tongue. Kipling never wrote anything more truer when he wrote, and he's quoting Rudyard Kipling, English literary. He's a master. He's a European. He won amongst the Europeans. He's a master. Kipling never wrote anything more truer when he wrote that, quote, man may hold most any post if he'll only hold his tongue, unquote. Before you set your tongue to action, get it under control. A single tongue can do more harm in the world than a battalion of soldiers. For soldiers can kill bodies, while the tongue can kill reputations and characters. Really, it is too bad that we have no laws to curb tongues from lying and scandalizing. And Lieutenant Grand Governor just demonstrated Prophet Noble Drew Ali being a general. So he is talking about soldiers and battlefields, and so everything he's demonstrating is strategy. The whole Prophet's program is strategy. Islam wants, and he's warning us about tongues. He said, no doubt you all have read the story of Iago, a character in one of Shakespeare's plays, Othello. When he powerfully pictured in the character of Iago the terrible consequences following the path of an evil tongue. Iago not only destroyed the reputation and pure character of Desdemona, but he finally, through Othello, killed her body. Othello strangled her out of jealousy from the whisperings of Iago, right? Says, that's why I say compel your tongue to speak helpful messages, or else keep it still. Make it a rule of your life to use your tongue for high purposes only. Resolve to speak of a man or woman of no other way unless you speak of good qualities of that man or woman. No one ever gained happiness out of injuring the feelings or character of someone else. No one else failed to get happiness by speaking well of other people. So learn as if you were to live forever, as if you were to die tomorrow. Islam was?
Islam.
A master that puts forth a teaching like that is one that has full comprehension of the planes that exist and the folly that promotes itself as the plane of the manifest. Islam was?
Islam.
So most of the things that, again, our people find themselves at odds about, over the past couple of weeks, Moore's been back arguing about the positioning of the Moorish flags, waging outright war on each other, right? But nobody looks at the fact that we're praying Allah that anyone who hoists two flags has full comprehension of what the flags are.
Islam.
And praise Allah that you have knowledge of your descent flag, because before you met the Prophet, you didn't even have that.
Islam.
So nobody's praising Allah for that fact. The fact that you have that. And the fact that you have an honor, relative to what the Prophet presented of what American citizen meant. You know what I'm saying?
Islam.
And filtering that through these eyes.
Yeah.
Islam was?
Islam.
Anybody just waving this without a descent nature, that's foolish. Islam?
Islam.
We're clothed in both.
Right.
When the Prophet adopted us in our society, he clothed us. In the first convention, first parade, this was during the first convention period, he wrapped the young sister, Moorish flag, because she represents the nation. Right? And wrapped the little brother in the American flag, representing business, commerce, business, trade, so on. Islam was?
Islam.
Right? Another thing I'd like to draw from is another article from Moore's God newspaper entitled Masterpiece of Religious Literature, Secrets of Other Creeds Revealed. This is by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Right? Now, what's interesting about this because a lot of times in this article he goes back and forth speaking in and out of third person. Okay, it's very interesting. It says the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has spent many hours preparing the latest edition of the Quran. The latest edition of the Quran, which would be a masterpiece of religious literature. To Americanize the Oriental idea of Islam involves many changes that are more or less negative to the main purpose of the Islamic religion. Such changes are carefully considered with the idea to avoid changing the complexion of the original text. The philosophy of the ancient prophets is the main initiative in the compilation of the Quran. No thoughts of propaganda enter this work, as has been the case of many former religious works, such as the Bible and other books of creed. Making it plain, isn't it? The sole purpose of the prophet in giving such a message to the world is to save fallen humanity. When a compiler, prophet didn't offer the Quran, right? He compiled the Quran, divinely prepared. When a compiler attempts to inject propaganda into a work of this kind, there arises a need to cover the true text in order to prevent a clash with the truth and ideas involved in such propaganda. Former works of this kind have either hindered or helped the nations proportionately to their adherence to the truth as to the original purpose of keeping the ignorant in such a state. It is hard to resist the temptation to use this medium for gain. Hence, many of the former treaties on works of this kind have been the means to foster ideas of the unscrupulous, wherein they desire to use religious influence for gain. We'll like to pause there. You know the Notre Dame Cathedral caught on fire, right? Mm-hmm. So they raised $700 million to rebuild that church. How much do you think of that $7 million is going to go back to the rebuilding of the church? Meanwhile, in France, there's a bunch of homeless people. There's a bunch of, you just name it. Anything, those funds could have been diverted to any uplifting act to save fallen humanity, but they chose to put it into a carnal idea. Islam or? Islam. All right. It says, the many secrets known to the prophet that could not, and he's speaking of prophet in the prophets of old time. The many secrets known to the prophet that could be used for the salvation of the nation were either left out or colored to an extent that their meaning was made void. Such is not the case with this edition of the Quran. All the secrets of the ages known to man are put into this work. The secrets known only to the Magi, M-A-G-I, the wise men, are here revealed. The reading of the stars, the interpretation of marriage relations, the understanding of the span of life, and other such as has been kept from the Occidental world are in this book boldly brought out. Occidental meaning the Western world. The Quran, Americanized as it will be, can be brought in a few weeks. It will be sent to all the governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America by the Prophet Noble Raleigh. Islam or? Islam. All right. I'll point out like the here where it says this latest edition of the Quran. Right? When you read the Quran of Mecca, right, reading it in English is good. It's a good thing. But there's certain ideas and thoughts that don't come across because it's a translation. Right? In the Arabic of it, there's a certain ayah. If you just, for those taking notes, if you just write down Quran and write down mother of the scriptures. I'm gonna give you another term. After you write mother of the scriptures, write capital U-M-M, next word lowercase a-l, next word lowercase k, kitab, K-I-T-A-A-B, al-kitab, right? The Quran of Mecca, Jibreel told the Prophet Muhammad, and peace be upon him, said that this Quran I'm giving you is a part of a larger book called the mother of all the scriptures. So the 114 chapters that we know as the Quran of Mecca is a portion of a larger book that, according to Jibreel, is kept in paradise. So when the Prophet Noble Raleigh, our prophet to us is an angel in human flesh. He comes bringing us different other chapters, a more updated version of that broader Quran, a later edition for the salvation and the redemption of the Asiatics and America. Islam? So you have to know, like we quote the Holy Quran in the Moorish Science Temple of America a lot. A lot of times I think we don't have full knowledge of what the Prophet entrusted us with. These secrets were long kept from the outside world by the Muslims for these. They had these lessons a long time ago. Prophet comes and in 1927 he puts them in our hands, therefore making us guardians of those truths. So everything that the Lieutenant Grand Governor is demonstrating on the concept of Seraph and Karub, or Seraph and Cherub, or Seraphim and Cherubim, and all the sciences that go with that, the Prophet's putting those studies in your hands, right? By giving you chapter 1 where he mentions that. Because mentioning those two things will open up a whole other volume of study. Islam or? Islam. Right? And then having full comprehension of the work that we're called to do, you know, we have to realize that we have to make good use of the time that we have access to the Holy Book. Right? So we have no man knows the day or the hour, right? Right. Okay. So that being the case, you know, I like to reflect, because I can't, you know, I can't pull nobody else's weeds, I can only pull my own. In that perspective, I labor to use my breath, whenever I'm using it, towards the purpose of uplifting fallen humanity, in some form, shape, or fashion. Islam Morris? I try to stay in the records because the records keep you rooted in that work, right? It sets up the parameters of what, you know, of how far you can go in your work. Islam? The record also says, seek not to various stations. You know, they are, you know, to, you know, seek forward, not into impossibilities. You know what I mean? Because some people are given certain things. Brother Yusuf is, you know, he has a natural affinity and inclination towards love. Right? He might talk about a bunch of other stuff, but if you listen long enough, it's gonna come right back around, full circle to love, somehow, because that's what, you know, what drives our brother. You know, when I first met him, that was his primary dominant vibration. What does the law say? Islam. Islam. The law governs all events. Islam. Praise Allah for our brother being able to, you know, plumb that line. Islam, Morris? All right? But, you know, knowing how to use how and when to use the breath, right, is a mastery in and of itself. Give honor to the Prophet Buddha, right? Because in his instructions, he gives you the science of the breath and how to use it. So, again, for those taking notes, write down the 4 noble truths. And then write down the 8-fold path. And that'll get you started on the Prophet Buddha. Also write down a book, it's a compilation that was put together, they refer to as the Buddhist Bible. There's a bunch of excerpts from his disciples, his students, you know, and, you know, their teaching and unfolding of the science of the holy breath. Because again, Moors, you know, Prophet didn't have time to hold you by your hand and walk on the path. He gave you the instructions and then he went on back to the soul plane. Islam? Islam.
What did you say after the 8-fold path?
The Buddhist Bible.
The Buddhist Bible.
Yes, sir. If you go to Amazon and, you know, and just run it through their search, it'll probably pop right up. I mean, it's a phenomenal read. I have it. I mean, it just really just goes into, you can really understand, like when you understand that, you know, all the true and divine prophets that the prophet gave you, you can understand the prophet's message a little better. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, like, you know, the prophet says that, you know, the Honorable Markham Messiah Garvey was his forerunner. So how you gonna understand the prophet and you haven't mastered the forerunner? Islam, Morris? There's so many things that the, you know, the Honorable Markham Messiah Garvey demonstrated that by the time that prophet came, it just made perfect sense. But you have, you know, before the corn is planted, the ground must be prepared. Islam, Morris? You know? And with that, I'd like to go to chapter 37. In the spirit of the holy breath. We're going to demonstrate the breath of heaven. Islam? Chapter 37, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, the breath of heaven. Instruction 1. Vaunt not the body. Just real quick, I'd like somebody to just Google the word vaunt for me. V-A-U-N-T. Vaunt not the body because it was first formed, nor of thy brain because therein thy soul resideth. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? We'll stop there. That instruction came to life to me on Monday when I was, you know, preparing the brother's form. You know, because again, the master of the house was not present in his home. And as a result, the home didn't look so bright. Islam was?
Islam.
You know? So, you know, give honor to the master of your own house. Islam? Because, you know, like when you get hungry, you eat physical food, right? But how often do you take time, you know, really to meditate consistently? Or to pray consistently? Because those are the things that your spirit man or your spirit woman vibrate on. That's the spiritual food. And if you don't feed it, it'll create a disconnect. All that mess of you feeling sad and depression and anxiety and all that type of stuff, it's a disconnect between you and your real self. Islam? And if you feed that spirit more often, you know, and put it around like bright colors. And, you know, if you notice in the hood, if you travel around the hood, you know, the colors that they paint stuff, you know, the grays and that brown and that, you know, prison colors. You know, I don't know if any of y'all been locked up before, but when you're inside, everything's gray and drab, and it's by design to keep your spirit on lockdown. Islam? You know, because it's feeding your sentinels, you know, lower vibrations of the spectrum.
Yes.
Islam? I have a side thought. You know, autism. When they say children that have autism, they refer to them as being on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Now, the word spectrum deals with the vibrations of the bands of light.
Exactly.
Right? And it said that these children, we label them that because they don't function according to our
Spectrum.
But it said that these children have abilities beyond what we understand.
Correct.
Hence, they call them on the spectrum. Islam, everything is not what it appears to be. Mastermind, Allah and Mastermind judge things about what they are and not what they
Seems to be.
Islam most?
Islam.
Allah just, I just had to say that. Instruction 2. The ground must be prepared before the corn is planted. The potter must build his furnace before he can make his porcelain. Anybody can tell me about the Egyptian deity Khnum? I think Khnum is Khnum. Khnum. Ironically, he was the potter back in ancient Kemet, or ancient Egypt. Right? Ironically, what's the name of T.D. Jakes' church? Potter's house. What does the potter do? The potter has to keep the wheel in constant rotation and move his hands in a perfect symmetry. If not, the form will come out misshapen. Islam? So it's perfect. It's speed, vibration, and symmetry that makes it a perfect form. Islam? Balance. Okay? It says, instruction 3, as the breath of heaven saith unto the waters of the deep, this way shall the billows roll, and no other. Thus high and no higher shall they raise their fury. So let thy spirit, O man, actuate and direct thy flesh. So let it repress its wilderness. We'll read that last part again. So let thy spirit, O man, actuate, meaning give life to, and direct thy flesh. So let it repress its wilderness. They give a demonstration in the Bible, and they talk about Moses and the Israelites wandering in the wilderness for a period of 40 years. And people talk about, the wilderness being like, people think wilderness desert, forest and stuff, right? If you look at the distance between, Canaan and Egypt, it's like, so clearly it's not that, right? But each one of us has our own wilderness. And the wilderness is the point between spirit and flesh. It's that journey, that traversing those burning sands between the two, right? Moving off the false ideals and, realizing those things that really matter. You know what I'm saying? And more than I tell you, it takes years. It takes years to master that, right? I know elders that have been in these lessons 40 years, 30 years, and they still in these pages trying to be in these pages. Islam? Right? Moving forward. Instruction 5, it says, thy body is as the globe of the earth. Thy bones, the pillars that sustain it on its basis. So over here, what I like to call my little culture section over here. Over there we have a pillar. And at the bottom of the pillar is its basis. Right? It says the bones, right? What's it about the bones? The pillars that sustain it on sustain the body, which is the globe of the earth, on its basis. Right? But all of that is still just your matter, that's just your form. Right? As the ocean giveth rise to springs, whose waters return again into its bosom through the rivers, so runneth thy life from thy outwards, and so runneth it into its place again. Do not both retain their course forever? Behold, the same Allah ordained them. Is not thy nose the channels to perfumes? Thy mouth the path to its delicacies. So, the odors and the perfumes, right? The things we get swayed by in the plane of the manifest.
Yeah.
They put in a brand new car. Ooh, you actually jump your bike. Ooh, look at that Phantom, such and such and such. Ooh, look at that. And it gets us. It gets all of us. It gets me too. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We ain't no big eyes here, right? But the point is, when you really catch yourself, I'm really bugging right now. I'm really tripping. You know what I'm saying? That's some metal. If I got that car, it'd be a time once the new car smell dies. Once you get closer to paying it off, everything starts breaking down. You know what I'm saying? And it becomes a hunk of metal just like anything else. Islam, moving forward. Not saying don't get you something nice. Get you something nice, folks. But just, let's keep it in perspective. Perspective. Islam Morris? Says, instruction 9, are not thine eyes the sentinels that watch for thee? Yet how often are they unable to distinguish truth from error? I want to send a message out to the vanguards here at Temple number 19 that knowing how to perceive a threat. You know, all things are not worthy of level 10 response. Is that right?
Oh, correct.
Everything is not worthy of level 10 response. So you have to be balanced and still in your being, so then when a perceived threat arises, you go through the files to know how to address it. Islam? You know, because a lot of times something that appears to be, you might be too heavy-handed. You understand? And we're not in the day and time to make those kind of mistakes. Okay. Moving forward. Instruction 10, keep thy soul in moderation. Now let's go back to instruction 1. Vaunt not the body because it was first formed, nor of thy brain because therein thy soul resided. Let's go back over to 10, keep thy soul in moderation. So Prophet made a reference to soul and brain. Okay? But keep that in moderation. There's a lot going on in that thing called brain. Use moderation in that, right? Because you have to, like, if a prophet is a thought, an angel is a thought, man is a thought, protoplasm is a thought, earth is a thought, right? There's a lot going on relative to the power of thought. Learn how to exercise your thoughts properly. If not, Elohim will make devil again. Islam Morris? Says, teach thy spirit to be attentive to its good, so shall these, its ministers, be always to thee conveyances of truth. And you could also flesh that out even to the concept of the divine minister, where you touch on that in chapter 15 of your Quran when Jesus was in the wilderness. Being a minister or a divine minister is not a game, because at that point, in your unfoldment, and in your ministry, you'll be responsible to guide people's lives, which is not a game. So when people come to you with their personal hang-ups and what they're going through and whatever, you cannot, not as much as you cannot give them advice out of your own opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, because how many of our relatives and our boys in the street has given us that type of advice, and it was pure folly, and it cost us a lot, right? So as a minister, as a divine minister, you don't give instruction out of, your passions. You take them to the record. You take them to a higher thought. Islam Morris? All right? It says, and this is one of my favorite verses right here, because, we press hands, right? Thine hand, is it not a miracle? Is there in the creation aught like unto it? Wherefore was it given thee, but that thou might stretch it, that thou mightest stretch it out to the assistance of thy brother. Right? Scientists say there's only about one chromosomal difference between man and ape. Right? So it's a lot in one chromosome, right? But one of the things, the chromosomal difference in ape versus man, or chimpanzee and man, is what they call the opposable thumb. This thing right here. It don't seem like much, right? But opening doors and opening tops and just different things you can do because you have this changes a lot in your ability to create, on the plane of manifest. Because of that one chromosomal difference that gave you this and gave you another thought of how to use this, what else you can do with it? You see what I'm saying? It was a point in time that man just walked the earth and looked at birds flying and said, man, I wish I could do that. And then that thought becomes action, and now people are flying across in airplanes. And I don't care how many times I fly in an airplane, it's still a miracle to me.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm just on the plane. No, I'm out the window, I'm looking at the class, because it's like it shouldn't be. It's crazy, right? But the point is, I'm sitting on the plane, I'm sitting inside somebody's thought. When you get in the car, remember, horsepower in the 1800s literally meant horse power. Islam, real quick. If you had a Mustang, back then you literally had a Mustang horse. Islam.
I just had to say this moment. It behooves me too.
I'm gonna say it behooves. Pay attention. This deep right here.
You got a real voice traveling without any wires, lines. That has always just mystified me.
Yeah.
That I can talk to you miles away, and you ain't. I don't see you, and you ain't no line touch or attached.
That's right.
It's just.
Our Camelback more Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is crazy. And now they talk about that 5G is about to hit, and they talking about like the ramifications behind it, whatever. It's a bunch of stuff. It depends on what side of it you're on.
Yes.
We'll take another day to deal with that.
Yes,
but but the point is that all of these are somebody's thought. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you trace these thoughts out, a lot of these aren't founded by Europeans. I gotta trace out your boy Nikola Tesla. He was a little different. But you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes like the the internet and stuff like that, Nigerian brother Philly, but while a lot of these people just musing around and just what if? You know what I mean? Or like Jesus said, demonstrating the possibilities of man. The possibilities are endless, right? But the only limitations are the ones that you put on yourself. But it's like, again, you got to know how to use that breath properly. You know what I mean? Because when you can use the breath, proper breathing gives a better thought. If you're breathing wrong, you can't access full brain. You can't even get the fullness of your thoughts. Islam was? Why it says the breath of heaven, the highest plane, right? Moving forward, it says, instruction 12, why of all things living art thou alone made capable of blushing? The world shall read thy shame upon thy face, therefore do nothing shameful. So blushing is not always your cheeks turning rosy red. Get out of it. We ain't demonstrating that. But when you're living foul, or somebody that's living foul, you can literally see it on their face. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like an intuition, where it's like, this person's presence don't mean me no good. You know what I'm saying? In our neighborhoods, a lot of times we get that. We have to be attuned to that. Whereas a lot of times where our senses almost end up being a little overly acute. So even when we're in more relaxed environments, we're still head still on a swivel because of things we've seen and so on and so forth, whatever. But knowing how to read people and body language is everything keen to the work we have to do, right? Because again, when you're conveying a message, let's say you demonstrate the prophet to somebody, you got to read in their body language if they're receiving it or not, or if they're closed off or not. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It might not be you just drop the seed and move on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes you can oversell it then. You're doing too much with it. You know what I mean? And the best of it is just being the message. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're literally the message and like, something might go down and in your response, they notice that you didn't respond like most people would. This ain't no normal person. Let me observe them a little bit more. See what's behind what they're into. And usually in their reckoning, what they end up coming with is, are you Muslim? Muslim?
Yeah.
One time my elder asked, was I Muslim?
Muslim.
What a Muslim? I know what you mean. Yes, I'm a Muslim. Say it, but I didn't want to do, you know what I'm saying? And then as we talk, I said, it's really Muslim. She's like, oh, okay, whatever. I didn't mean no offense. But again, if I was on my high camel, it ain't Muslim, this. You know what I mean? Just ran away from the truth. Right. See what I'm saying? Tact. Moving forward. Fear and dismay, who rob thy countenance of its ruddy splendor. Avoid guilt, and thou shalt know that fear is beneath thee, that dismay is unnamely. Fear and dismay is basically put you in the form like our brother I saw on Monday. It robs your form of its life, and you look lifeless. Like a lot of our people you see, like the cares of the world on them so much is that it's draining them. A lot of brothers is in the streets hard, 10 toes down in the streets. They easily look 10 years older than they're supposed to look.
Yeah.
Easily. You see what I'm saying? Then on 180 degrees of that, I know Muslims that have lived their life accordingly, and they be in their 70s and 80s looking 40. You see what I'm saying? So it all depends on how you apply this truth. Islam was? Instruction 14. Wherefore to thee alone speak shadows in the vision of the pillar. Reverence them, for know that dreams are formed from on high. That right there, volumes could be written on that instruction. Right? Instruction 15. Thou, man, alone canst speak. Wonder at thy glory. Here's the instruction. Wonder at thy glorious prerogative, and pay to him who gave it to thee a rational and welcome praise, teaching thy children wisdom, instructing the offspring of thy loins in piety. Islam was? Surely Allah speaks truth to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That demonstration of gave it to thee a rational and welcome praise. So, teaching our people how to reason. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely needed, but it's something that you can do when it's peaceful. But that's not the teaching moment. The teaching moment is when when it's hot. Can you still remain the Muslim that you were called to be under that? Like there's on our charter, the prophet, I love having this right here. The prophet is standing before the flames. Islam, if you look on the other picture over there, you can look, the backdrop they have, it almost looks like a destruction, like taking place, but he's before them. He came to, save the nations from the wrath of Allah, Islam. And if you remove the prophet, all you got is wrath. You see what I'm saying? And this is what, if you've known any Moorish Americans, I know plenty of them, who came to the prophet, made vows to the prophet's cause, because really to Allah, right? But the prophet was the thought of, right? So you wouldn't have known about Allah. Right. So you made vows to the prophet to perform certain work, and then you turn back on those vows. I say every so often we get them, they stumble in time, you know. And while they hit it, they're wide awake. Everything's hitting, but as soon as they step back through that threshold, they're back in the chaos. You see? Because one thing you don't want to do is take a vow to help your people, and don't do that. You see what I'm saying? Because everything they're suffering, you're suffering that plus 7 times. Islam, and this ain't spookism. I'm not trying to spook nobody out. You know what I mean? But it's just a real thing. Your word has to be your bond. And your bond, your life. You have to be willing to give your life before your word shall fail. And if you betray your word, your life shall be taken as recompense for that debt. Islam? You know? And you know, it's just something that I've realized, you know what I'm saying? You know, praise Allah for constancy. Not inconstancy. Constancy, the ability to be consistent, you know, on the particular path. What they call in the Quran of Mecca. Mecca, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight and narrow path, right? Or Jesus said, you know, straight is the path that leads to salvation, but broad is the way that leads to destruction. Broad. Oh, you ain't got to do that, do this. You ain't got to do that, do this, right? And then in terms of your generations, how will your generations end up? Islam wars? You know, I've only been in the Moorish Science Temple of America since 2001. You know, I've been dealing with Islam since I was 14, and just dealing with Islam, you know, and then this was, you know, I'm 46, so back in my era of hip hop, you know, we had like, you know, Rakim, you know, Big Daddy Kane, you know, King Asiatic, nobody's equal. You know, that was, you know, Big Daddy Kane, you know, Poor Righteous Teachers, everybody mentioning Islamic, this and that, or whatever, and where they created an environment where it wasn't cool to be done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you couldn't be walking down the block in those days eating pork rinds around the brothers. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if they're 5% of the nation Islam. Brother, you eating pork rinds? And they stop, you're going to get a whole education in that moment of what pork is going to do to your body. You know what I mean? But that was in the music, it was in the culture. I mean, you know, back when brothers was getting robbed for them gold chains and all that type of stuff, and it was like, you know, it's a whole movement to give back the chains and rock them African medallions. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, we kill each other for these medals and stuff, but let's represent something that's us. You know, a thought. Somebody injected the thought, and because we were synced up, the thought caught on. You see? It's a different energy now. It's a different vibration where, you know, it's popular to be done. You know, it's popular to be uncivilized, not a savage. There's a difference between uncivilized and savage. You know, an uncivilized person is just one that doesn't have the light of Allah, right? A savage is one that had the light of Allah and turned back and is living the life of a beast. That's a savage. So you come, let's say, to the prophet, and then you leave the prophet and go back there and be like, you know, just doing everything 180 degrees from the prophet. You're a savage because you once had the light and turned back and are living the life of a beast. Islam Moors?
Islam.
So, you know, because the ancient Moors, our Moorish ancient fathers and mothers were the torch bearers of civilization. What does that mean? We say that. So in an era of darkness, they were the ones carrying the light. So that a symbolic right for that is when they run the Olympic torch around, right? Not our custom, because in their Greek thing, they originally ran that torch around naked. Not our custom. But the point is that, you know, the thing of running the illumination around to dark areas, you know what I'm saying? And when something's going on, it's like today. You know, one of my customers came in, hadn't seen him in like 2 years. So, oh man, you know, you see him on the shop, whatever. You know, I just came home, man, I was locked down. He said, man, everything you was telling us, because the whole crew, when I first got over here, there was a whole crew of cats. Home invasion cats, dope cat, whatever. You know how we do. We talk with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We leave a seed. You know, and so I was always known for that. So when they all prospectively come home, oh gee, I should have listened, man. I done lost 2 years of my life. My child's 2 years older. This that. So all right, brother, pick up where you pick up from here. You know, but what's your plan for now? You know, but the point is that being known for something in your communities. This is what the prophet gave us. You know what I'm saying? He makes you a living torch, not just the torch bearer, but he makes you the light, right? He said in order to reveal the light, you must first have the light before you can reveal it. Islam, you know, and that's the thing. So you have to look inside yourself. It's like, do I really have what it takes? And if I don't, let me study of how to get it. Let me get with those who maybe been on the path a little longer than me, and see what, you know, what was their long. That's why I love being around elders, because like they can tell you their pitfalls. You know what I mean? The things that that caused them to stray and how they got back. Those are the things you watch out for. And where we mess up is that we don't pass information on, right? So you get yours, and it's like, I got mine, you get yours, right? And we got that's not how this thing is. You know, culture perpetuates itself. You know, that's what procreation, fruitful and multiplying is all about. You know, spreading that thought. You know what I'm saying? And to me, like this right here, that's the emblematic nature of this, you know, being that manifestation of perfection, you know, within a circle. You know, you set that circle around yourself, and within that circle, you gotta be God. And learn how to stand on your square. Don't stand on nobody else's square. Because when you're standing on your square, you are God. Right? But we're careful with that. Right? We're careful with that energy, right? Yes, yeah. But you are a divinity when you're on your square. Right? Because you're demonstrating your work. Right. And what Allah made you for. I can't stand on Brother Yosef's square. Right? His square it might be I can't fill them shoes. I don't wear size 9. I can't even fit them shoes. They kind of fly too. I wish they were my size. But when I'm on my square, I can have full control of everything that I'm called to do. Islam, Morris? And just remember that, Morris. And, reach back to those other ones. Okay, you got your fez on your head. But reach back to those ones that don't have that fez on their head. That's the work. Yeah. Islam. I give honors to the aspiring and the faithful members of Temple Number 19, because it's not easy, because you have to work beyond your own excuses. You know what I mean? You know the thing of like, you need to go to the gym, but all the excuses in the world come up. Well, I don't feel like going this cloudy outside. I don't feel like doing this. Same thing would be in the message that you bring. Islam, Morris? You can have 1,000,001 excuses why you should not be a messenger, right? But the ones that go through that and stand as the vanguard, who are the front line of the movement, those are the ones you have to give honors to. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to come through adversity. Right? And stop judging elders. You don't know their walk. Yeah, right? True. And they're at the point where we're all trying to get to. So that alone is worthy of admiration. Islam? That's why we have that chapter 24, the obedience of the children to the Father. Islam? Right? So, Moses, that's my measure for tonight. I didn't want to be long-winded. I just wanted to share the experience, of dealing with our brother who had passed form. And just remember, Moses, the Prophet gave us the Moorish American prayer, and it's just in closing. The Prophet gave us the Moorish American prayer for a reason. You have to state your intentions to the universe. If not, an alternate plan will be provided for you. Right? You start your car up before you put it in reverse or drive, whatever you do, say the Moorish American prayer. State your intentions to the universe. Islam, Morris? Before you have a business meeting or whatever, say prayers. Say your meditations, stuff like that. Because you're declaring your intention to the universe that I mean no harm. The destination that I plan on getting to, I plan on getting there to do more uplifting. So Allah, if you can grant me safe passage from here to there, because you are my protector by night and by day, and I do good work. But if it is your will that I be called back before that time, all praise due to Allah, we hear and we obey. Islam, more? Because nothing, we're operating under a mentality that life is promised to us, and it's not. And I'm seeing Moors functioning like this in the way that we treat each other. You know what I'm saying? And again, I've seen, in my little short 46 years, people might treat them more, horribly because of some folly, and in that more past form, you never had a chance to piece that. What that does to the psychology of a person. Because you could never say, "Well, I'm sorry." Some more, I was tripping. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, it just takes the bigger person. Even if you're the wrong one in the scenario, even if the other person's wrong, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the situation took place. Can we move beyond this to be greater? Let us be the gods that we were called to be. You understand what I'm saying, Mons? Because we advocate peace and not destruction. Islam, Mons? So that's the real side to it, Mons. So again, please, if you don't hear nothing else from tonight, from my voice, just hear the fact that stop operating like you got forever. Nothing's promised. Do great, wondrous works with the time that's allotted to you. So you have the breath now. Do good with it now. Don't, or when I get greater, no. Do good with it now. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
All right. And with that, Morris, I know what I mean. Islam, brother Brad.
Well, we never got to what? The font?
Yes, sir. Let's get the definition of somebody have it?
I had it. It's
Grab it,
both,
Sumar.
but I can read it.
Okay. Vaunt.
Vaunt, verb, boast about or praise, especially excessively, as in he was initially vaunted by the West for his leadership of the country. Acclaim, esteem, revere, extol, celebrate. Boast.
Gratitude.
Let me get two measures on vaunt. What y'all got on the word vaunt? On that definition as it was read.
Vaunt.
Boast excessively.
Islam.
Islam.
Taking it. Go ahead.
Yes.
Right, let's give honors.
Islam.
Islam.
I rise, giving the most high praise to Allah, and the highest of honors to his noble and divine prophet, Heru Ranesi-El.
Islam. We recognize that.
Islam. In my taking it back to the records, it says, "Vaunt not the body, nor the soul." And when I think about that, I
Take time.
okay. So when I think about that, I'm thinking about immediately I think about what I just thought about was my grandmother,
Praise
and she's 98
Praise Allah.
now, and I'm just, it's the transition she's going through now is one where she's not, she has her good days and her bad days, and it's surprisingly it's highly correlated with the stations of the sun,
Islam.
which is interesting. As the sun is up, she's very vibrant, very strong, very determined, very full of life. But when as the sun sets and she starts getting tired, certain things start to misfire or whatnot. And so I'm thinking about the vaunting of her existence, and I can think back in stories of how she was an amazing athlete in times past, and she was she did all of these wondrous things, but she was able to to call upon that which was within herself to at that time, well, not at that time, but later on, to pull those same qualities out of other youth, because she was a teacher, and so that's her utilizing her gifts to help serve humanity.
Praise Allah, brother. And if I can, with elders too, man, that's 98. Praise Allah, that's a blessing. That's wisdom you can't buy, right? And when they get that young, they begin to look forward. So a lot of times, like when they get to talking, and in their speech, they're talking about things that it might seem incoherent. That's like, what you talking about? They see in realms, but they, that thing that they're calling dementia. The word dimension.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're breaking past and beyond and seeing all that is, the all of love. They're because they're right there. It's almost like children, right? And children have what they call imaginary friends. They playing and whatever, and then you come and you stop them and they upset because you stopped them from talking with. I'm a grandparent. This stuff I go through. This is my life, right? My grandson's the same way. He starts looking through around, and he got little friends he play with and stuff like that. He has a ball by himself. But to me, it's by itself. But to him, it's a group. You understand what I'm saying? So praise Allah for, because again, as was again in the beginning, so shall it be in the, what they say end, right? But there's no end for us because, man is not the body nor the soul. Islam was? Brother Khalid. Islam.
I rise giving perfect praise to Allah, great God of the universe, and highest honors to his prophet, Noble Heru Ranesi-El.
Islam.
Islam. I I just wanted to go on you said about the word bond and
all.
how that applied as far as to me, reading that verse. It says not the body because it was first formed, nor the brain because in it resides the soul. It's not the master house more honorable than its walls. It's saying, it's telling us like, you know, get out the carnal form. You know, stay, you know, a lot of us, you know, you see on the videos, you know, the chains and different, they just boasting and bragging about the carnal things that eventually will pass away, which is the lower self.
That's right.
Being caught in an illusion and not seeing, you know, the higher self, the thing that can never pass away. So it's telling us to recognize the difference, and even when it comes to the brain, because there in the soul resides, we know that thinking, reason, willing, understanding, call is not the soul, it's his actions. So we know this is the mind or intelligence. So it's saying don't think, oh, I got superior understanding either, because it's not about don't raise it too high. It's telling you just to honor that thing, that essence that gives you life. That gives you, because that's the thing, you know what I mean, that's sustaining us. We can't go a millisecond without breathing. We can go a couple seconds without breathing. You can go forever without eating and drinking. But as soon as you try to stop breathing, it's over. So it's saying recognize that. Islam.
You know, coming back off of that is that, you know, I've seen children born, you know, 7 times, 5 children, 2 grandchildren, and seeing, you know, a baby take its first breath and start crying, man, all that macho stuff go out the door, because it's humbling. You know what I'm saying? Because first of all, she almost died giving birth to this, and now this thing is live and full of life, and you're just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, Allah Akbar, that's the only thing you say, Allah the greatest, you know what I mean? But, you know, and that feeling and that thought that you have bearing witness to that new life, if we could only carry that energy with us through life, we'd be successful. You know what I mean? Because the energy that you feel for the existence of that child, everything that you feel for that, all the good that you want for it, if we could duplicate that in our everyday dealings, oh man, we'd be unstoppable force. Because you'd be moving in love. You know what I mean? And you know, like an unconditional love. You see what I'm saying? So to the point where it's like, no matter what you do, my children have obeyed me, they've disobeyed me, and I love them. You know, that's an innocent, immovable thing. And no matter what, I'd rather you listen, right? But you know, I understand that your flesh will call you, so you may err. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I still love you. Islam and says that the pure heart, and this is a bar that said, pure heart, where you know, love and not demand love in return. That's something we're all trying to aspire to, because especially as brothers, that's not our natural energy. It's not. We got stipulations. You know what I'm saying? I love you if. You know, and I'll be the first one to tell you I'm that way. You know what I'm saying? But I know the record says opposite, so I'm working on myself. Islam? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, a lot of times our sisters, they happy. You know what I'm saying? They're going to love you regardless. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, you know. I saw something real quick, and I read the Divine Warning. Back when Jeffrey Dahmer was doing his madness, when he was in court, you know, there's people outside protesting and stuff like that. His mother was outside the courtroom, going off like, "Leave my baby alone. That's my baby. I don't want y'all to do nothing to him." I'm like, wow, despite the fact that he was a serial killer and a cannibal, right? She's still like, "That's my baby. Leave him alone." You know what I'm saying? You know, and while that's very European, it's very carnal, you know what I'm saying? It's an aspect of unconditional love in it. You know what I'm saying? You know, so that's how you know it's almost otherworldly and divine, because it's like sometimes unconditional love and logic don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, but it's something that is. You know what I mean? And then if you put that in yourself, why is Allah merciful to us? What did we do to deserve Allah's mercy? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's an undeserved kindness that Allah gives to us. For whatever reasons, Allah knows the best. We don't know, because I didn't do a thing to deserve to be the one in my family that woke up. I didn't do, you know, I was just born. And through a series of accidents enforced on all sides, you know, I ended up with a brother that asked me what my nationality was, and I didn't know it. Wow. And he gave me the prophet. You know, but it was a series of accidents, apparently, because it really wasn't an accident, right? That got me there. So what did you do to deserve? You nothing. But Allah chose you. And then what do we do with that gift? We sit on it. You see what I'm saying, Moss? Islam? Islam. Islam? Islam. 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 More Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali, founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 All praise are due to Allah, the highest of honors, to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. More in closing, I just like to say, I saw it's a YouTube video. It's a bunch of them actually. If you type in like Morocco 1930, Morocco 1920, you have like the film footage from back in those days, black and white, whatever. And there's one I actually posted on my Facebook page the other day. But there was one where they showed like Morocco things like early 1930s, and they're going around, they're showing like the great castles your forefathers built and all that kind of stuff. You know, they're using the word Moor, not Arab. They use Arab a couple times, mainly Moor. You know, in there they showed the castle of your forefather Moulay Ismail. And Moulay Ismail was he was the one, he had 120,000 horses in his personal stable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know,
20,000?
Yeah, 100,000. Your forefathers, that's what I'm saying. Like when we say we Moors, like we ain't understanding like the grandeur of it, right? But then they showed that same horse stable. Now think about how big the stable was, right? Clearly it was like a mansion, like my words are falling short. Stadium. Thank you. But they're showing it, and you know what it is now is like, you know, like people just riding horses through it, like there's trash everywhere. It's nothing anywhere near the grandeur of what he was demonstrating. You see what I'm saying? Wow. They're showing that Morocco in the 1930s was in a state of decline because your forefathers wasn't like we had been displaced. You know, the true inheritors of that land were gone here in America. You know, so on and so forth. So the point is that, you know, having the thought of your forefathers, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at like the mosques, the masjids, you know, in the East that your forefathers built, like, they literally took on earth as it is in heaven, literally. So like, okay,
I was just thinking,
until we get to that particular state, we ain't on the soul plane now, but until we get there, this is my thought of what it is. You know, this is my thought of what it is. And the masterminds got together and did that stuff, see what I'm saying? So again, you have to remember, when you tell the world, you proclaim to the world that you're Moorish American, you're descendant of Moroccans born in America, or you're descendant of the ancient Moabites, not just the Moabites. You know, the people in Jordan today, they might try to call themselves Moabites, but they're not the ancient Moabites. They're not descendants of the ancient one. Islam? But the point is that, you know, get back into the grand thoughts of your forefathers. That's what it means by going back into the state of mind of your forefathers. Because when you really know what your heritage and birthrights are, right, on a divine level, the Prophet said your divine rights unmolested. When you know what that is, you create that in the world that you're in, right? But you start it first with yourself, Islam. And part of it is, you know, the key to that is good relationship building. You know what I'm saying? When you really be brothers to each other, really be sisters or whatever, and really care. Like, you see your brother suffering, he ain't gonna tell you. Just let you know that now. You gotta see it on your brother. Pull him to the side, ask him, are you okay? Islam? Because Moorish pride won't let him tell you they're going through something. So you gotta know that about your people. They're not gonna admit that they're going through nothing. You gotta care enough in order to see it on them and ask. Right? And ask, it said what? Ask and shall be given unto you, seek and you shall find, and knock and the door shall be open. We don't demonstrate that enough. Islam Moors. So praise Allah for today's holy day. We truly ascended to the Father God Allah tonight. Islam Moors. Praise Allah for the Sister Sheik Heru Ranesi-El's presence, setting the temple up tonight for the Moors. Praise Allah for the Grand Governor that manifested to us tonight on the holy day. Pleasure, seeing our brother, back on, planning to manifest in the temple. It's nothing like it. Praise Allah for you all sacrificing from your families and whatever you could have been doing to be here tonight. It means a lot to the Prophet. Islam Moors? Islam. Praise Allah. Everyone please rise. Face right ahead of you. Hold your feet at a 45-degree angle. Standing on your square. Raise 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Invoking the sacred presence, 7 Elohim, that created everything that ever was, is, or ever more to be. Please repeat after me. Allah.
Allah.
The Father of the universe.
The Father of the universe.
The Father of love,
the Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night,
By night
and by day.
and by day.
Through his holy prophet,
Through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Allahu Akbar.
حي على الصلاة